Okay, and we're going to be doing factoring by grouping in this video. And with factoring by grouping, we have 4 terms involved. So let's look at an example. So for example, if we have 5x squared plus 10x plus 8x plus 16. So if we look across here, we'll see that 1 is the only thing in common to all 4 terms. But in factoring by grouping, we're going to look at the first 2 terms and perform greatest common factoring. So if we look at just the first 2 terms, we could factor out 5x, and that leaves x plus 2. And then look at the last 2 terms. Now, there's a plus sign here, so we're going to use that plus sign. And then factor out between the 8x and 16, those last 2 terms, we could factor out 8, leaving x plus 2. Now observe, we have x plus 2 in common. So we could factor out x plus 2, and 5x plus 8 remain. So 5x here, 8 here. Okay, the x plus 2 have been factored out, leaving 5x plus 8. Okay, now let's look at another example. So in this case, we're going to do multiple greatest common factoring. So here we have 6x to the third plus 12x squared minus 10x minus 20x. Okay, so here we see that we have 2x in common to all the terms. So we could do greatest common factoring. So we have 2x, 1 parenthesis, and then divide 2x into each term. So we have 3x squared plus 6x minus 5x minus 10. Okay, so here we're going to keep the 2x on the outside and perform greatest common factoring on those first 2. So we would get 3x on the outside, and then we have x plus 2. Now again, the sign here is minus, that sign comes down. So minus, and then here, between the last 2 terms, we have 5 in common. And this becomes x plus 2 because we have that negative on the outside. Now we have x plus 2 in common, x plus 2 in common. We could factor that out. And so we have 2x, factor out x plus 2, and 3x minus 5 remains. Here we could drop the square parenthesis, so our final factored form would be 2x, x plus 2, times 3x minus 5. Okay, now with factoring by grouping, we can use factoring by grouping to work, to do trinomial factoring. And it's very useful for when the a is not equal to 1. So if we have ax squared plus bx plus c, and here a is not equal to 1, then we could use factoring by grouping. So the first step, step 1, is to take a and multiply times c. So we find ac, we multiply a times c, pay attention to the sign, the resulting sign. Then the next step, step 2, we would look at all the pairs that multiply to give AC. And from that pair that you found must add to give b. Add to give this b here, right? Okay. So let's look at an example. So let's look, say, for example, we have 8x squared plus 14x plus 5. Okay, so we're going to take a and multiply times c. So in other words, we're going to multiply 8 times 5. So we have plus 40. Okay, so we're going to look at all the numbers that multiply to give 40 and which pair adds to give 14. So if we have plus 10 and plus 4, plus 10 many times plus 4 to get 40, and if you add 10 and 4, that gives you 14. So the outer terms remain the same, so we keep 8x squared plus 5, and then we're going to split that 14x up into plus 10x plus 4x. So now we have 4 terms, and then we apply factoring by grouping. So looking at the first 2 terms, we could factor out 2x. That leaves 4x plus 5. And then we have plus. Well, when they don't have anything in common here, we're going to use a 1. And we have 4x plus 5. So now we have 4x plus 5 in common. We factor that out. And then we have 2x plus 1 remaining. Okay? Okay, let's look at one more example. So let's say, for example, we have 14x squared plus 31x minus 10. So here we'll multiply a times c, so 14 times minus 10, that gives me minus 140. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to give minus 140, and adds or subtract to give 31. So 35 times 4, 35 times 4 would give me 140. Now the sign of the b is plus, so the bigger number get the plus sign, and the 4 would get the minus sign. So 35 times the minus 4 is minus 140. And if we add 35 and minus 4, we get 31. So keep the other terms, 14x squared, the minus 10. And then we're going to break that 31 up into plus 35x minus 4x. So performing factoring by grouping, we could factor out 7x. So we'll have 2x plus 5. Okay, so looking at the first 2 terms. Now look at the last 2 terms. Now the sign here is minus, so we're going to use minus. This have 2 in common. And so we have 2x plus 5 here. So having 2x plus 5 in common, factor that out. 2x plus 5 times 7x minus 2. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.